Hello, Mauricio. Good evening. How are you? Can you hear me, Mauricio?
Sorry, teacher. Good evening. I was in my computer and I don't have microphone in the computer.
Oh, it's okay. No worries. Hello, Camila.
Good evening, teacher. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
Mauricio. Teacher,
Hello.
I have a question. Can
Yes.
I do it?
Yes.
About the homework or the things that we need to do. We have a due date, and when is that?
Oh, I was going to discuss that today.
Okay.
Yes, writer, welcome. Yes, I will discuss it. I guess we are almost complete. Audrey, welcome. We're just missing Joe. It's time already. I guess we can start in one more minute, but I will take this minute to tell you that you need to complete these exercises by the end of Saturday. Submit them to me. You can send them to me via email or send them through WhatsApp, either way, and I will grade them and give them back to you. No problem, okay? Now, please complete these exercises because I will give you a grade. That's part of your 30% grade, okay? So for participation. Questions, guys? Questions? Camila, is that clear?
Yes, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Camila. So I guess we can start already. The minute has been passed. So again, we continue in our grammar tour. Grammar tour with punctuation, okay? So we left off in quotation marks. And let's see, we are only missing quotation marks and hyphens, and then we start with a new objective, okay? So let's see. The rules set forth in this section are customary in the United States. Great Britain and other countries in the Commonwealth of Nations are governed by quite different conventions. Nowhere in these more apparent than a rule 4 in this section, a rule that has the advantage of being far simpler than Britain's and the disadvantage of being far less logical. So again, guys, we're always going to have differences between the UK and the United States, different criteria, but in the end, we need to be able to identify each one from each other. So let's go over the first rule. Mauricio, can you help me with the first rule? Hello?
Sorry, teacher. Use double quotation marks to set off a direct word-to-word quotation. Correct. Quotation mark. I hope you will be there. You will be here. Quotation mark. He said. Incorrect. He said that he, quotation mark, hope I would be there, quotation mark. The quotation marks are incorrect because hoped I would be here, there does not state the speaker's exact words.
Yes. Remember, just like in Spanish, we are quoting the exact same words from the other person or people. Okay. 2A, writer.
Always capitalize the first word in a complete quotation, even mid-sentence. Example, Lamar say, the case is far from over and we will win.
Okay, so yes, again, we are using a comma. Lamar said, comma, we start the quotation. So whenever we open our quotations, the next letter has to be in capital. Okay, that's what it's telling us. Thank you, writer. 2B, Audrey.
Don't capitalize and quote material that continues a sentence. Lamar said that the case was far from over and that we will win.
Yes. Now this one looks a little bit tricky, but again, we are using Lamar said that connector that is telling us that we don't need a comma. We're doing the transition already. Okay. And also notice that we don't have capital letters here. That is what the rule's telling us. But a lot of things are happening here. We don't use a comma because the same structure of the statement is telling us that we don't need it. And we are quoting directly. Unless what? Unless we are using proper names, guys. Okay. Any questions about these two rules at this point? Okay. 3A. Let's see. Joe, can you help me with 3A?
Use commas to introduce or interrupt direct question of dialogue or text. Example, he said, comma, quotation mark, I don't care, period, quotation mark, oh, okay, quotation mark, why, period, comma, quotation mark, I ask, comma, quotation mark, don't you care, quotation mark. Toni Morrison wrote, comma, quotation mark, if there's a book that you want to read, okay, but it wasn't, okay, but it hasn't been written yet, comma, then you must read it, quotation mark. This rule is optional with one word questions. Example, he said, stop.
Thank you, Joe. Quotations, okay? Quotations. Dialogue. Quotations of dialogue. Okay. Thank you, Joe. So again, we are reviewing what we talked about yesterday. We are using our commas. Let's go into the first example. He said, comma, I don't care. And you're quoting. Yet you are separating your expression with a quote. Why? Comma, I asked, comma. So your emphasis is being in the middle of both commas. And I continue the quote. But check it out, it's a question. Why don't you care? And again, you're doing emphasis, that's why you have I asked in between commas. But you can leave the whole quote. Why don't you care? Toni Morrison wrote, comma, and all of this is a quote, okay? All of these is an extract from another conversation or dialogue or paragraph, whatever, okay? Now, as Joe was telling us, we have an optional rule. Yes, I just have this. He said stop. And you're quoting at the same time. Maybe we don't need a comma. Okay. Rule 3B. Is Rodrigo already in class? Rodrigo?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you.
3C, right?
Yes, 3B.
Oh. If the quotation comes before he said, she wrote, they report, that insist, or a similar attribution, and the quoted material with a comma, even if it is only one word. Examples, quotation mark, I don't care. Quotation mark, he said. Quotation mark, stop. Quotation mark, he said.
Yes, maybe the explanation looks too worthy, too much info in the explanation, but whenever you see the example, it's telling us, okay? You can have the quotation marks in the beginning and then your expression or your words. It doesn't matter. Okay. But this is a big difference. Stop, comma, he said. In the previous example, he said stop. But remember, even if you're writing the words, you have to make a pause whenever you speak. Let me repeat again. He said stop. Stop, he said. So yes, that is a verbal difference. Whenever you get confused about something, think about pronunciation, guys. That's gonna help you. Rule 3C. Okay. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? Camila.
Rule 3C. If a quotation function as a subject or object in a sentence, it might not need a comma. Examples. Is quotation mark, I don't care, quotation mark. All you can say to me, saying quotation mark, stop the car, quotation mark, was a mistake.
Okay. Yes. And be careful because we might get confused. You have saying, which is a gerund, and we might get confused and have our expression, quoted expression in between commas. It's not needed. If you're going to quote something that fits perfectly in your statement, no problem, even better. Okay. So let's continue, guys. Quotation marks, rule 4. Mauricio?
Periods and commas always go inside quotation marks. Examples, the sign read, walk, then it said, don't walk, then walk, all within 30 seconds. He yelled, hurry up.
Okay. So yes, you can have a combination of different punctuations, periods and commas. Because again, guys, you can quote a whole statement or even a paragraph. It doesn't matter. But in the end, that's what you're quoting. But if you want to do a combination of your quotes and also your words, like this example, it's possible. The sign read is in the past, guys. Walk. Then it said, don't walk. Then walk. All within 30 seconds. Well, you're quoting. And you're using your own expressions or your own transition words or conjunctions you wanna. get ahead and talk about conjunctions. He yelled, hurry up. And this rule actually, well, we talked about it in the previous examples. So we're just making sure we notice this rule. Rule 5A, Audrey.
The placement of question mark with quotation mark follows logic. If a question is within the quoted material, a question mark should be placed inside the quotation marks. Alberta asked, will you still be my friend? The question, will you still be my friend, is part of the quotation. Alberta yelled in frustration, I cannot be your friend. The exclamation, I cannot be your friend, is part of the quotation. Do you agree with the saying, all is fair in love and war? The quotation, do you agree with the saying, is outside the quotation. I hate when you say, all is fair in love and war. The exclamation, I hate when you say, is outside the quotation.
Okay, so any questions about this rule? Let me talk about the first example and the third one. So you have a question mark because the question mark is part of your quote. In example 3, you are making a question, but using the quote as a reference. That's why you have your quotation mark outside. I'm sorry, you have your question mark outside the quotations. In this case, right here. Okay, so remember the placement of question marks with quotation marks could be quite simple, but we need to be careful we are using the necessary skills to manage this rule. Rule number 2, I'm sorry, example number 2 for rule 5A, Alberta yelled in frustration, I cannot be your friend. And we have an exclamation mark. That means that this quotation is the same text that you are using from another reference or from another work. I hate when you say all's fair in love and war. Again, your original quote doesn't have an exclamation mark. You are using it as a reference, just as the previous examples I was giving you with question marks. Any questions so far, guys? Questions before we continue? No? Okay, rule 5B, Rodrigo.
If a quoted question ends in mid-sentence, the question mark replaces a comma. Example, will you still be my friend? Alberta asked.
Okay, this one is a little bit tricky. If a quoted question ends in mid-sentence, the question mark replaces the comma. Okay. But again, check it out. You're using capital letter because you're talking about a proper name. What happens if we don't have a proper name? Anyone knows? Do we still keep a capital letter if it's not a proper name?
No, in this case, no.
You don't think so?
according to the rule number 1 or 2, it says that if it's not a subject or name, something like that, we don't need to use capitalize. We don't need to capitalize the letter. In the 2B.
Yes, it's right here, right? And this is the confusing part, Camila. Since we have a question mark between our quotations, it might be tricky. But in the end, you're not using the question mark as a reference. You're using your quotation marks. Good job, ma'am. Okay. So let's see. We'll almost finish with quotation marks, guys. Rule 6. Any volunteers? Writer?
Okay, teacher. Quotation marks are used for components such as chapter titles in a book, individual episodes of a TV series, songs from a Broadway show or a music album, titles of articles or essays in print or online, and shorter works such as short stories and poems. It's customary in American publishing to put the title of an entire composition in italics, put the title of a short work. Short work one that is or could be part of a larger undertaking in quotation marks. A composition is a creative, journalistic, or scholarly enterprise that is whole, complex, and thing unto itself. This includes books, movies, plays, TV shows, newspapers, magazines, websites, music albums, operas, musical theater, paintings, sculptures, and other works of art. Example, Richard Burton performed the song Camelot in the 1960 Broadway musical Camelot. Although the word is the same, Camelot, the song takes quotation marks because it's part of a larger work, namely a full-length show called Camelot.
Thank you, writer. So guys, this is tricky. Now, so remember yesterday's article? We had some quotations marks from a title of a book, remember? So that's what he's telling us. Quotation marks are used for components such as chapter titles in a book, individual episodes of a TV series, songs from a Broadway show, so on and so on. So how do we know the difference between italics and quotation marks? Anyone get it? Anyone can tell me the difference? Anybody knows? Audrey, writer, Camila. So how can we differentiate between italics and quotation marks? It's easy, guys. We're using the quotation marks because we're quoting a work that is long. That's what it is. And it's what it's telling us here. Camelot, the night, so on and so on and so on. But you're only quoting Camelot. Any questions about this? I'm gonna quiz this, guys. Rodrigo, any questions? Joe?
No, teacher.
Nope. Okay. So remember, whenever we write an essay, either it's a short essay or long essay, we're always going to use quotation marks. And we are prompted as well to use italics. So just remember that we need to know the difference between each one, okay? Just remember, quotation marks because it's part of a larger work. 7. Joe?
Use single question mark or
Quotation mark.
quotation mark for quotation within quotations. Example, Dan said in a town outside Brisbane. Okay.
Yes.
I was tourist go home written on a wall, but then someone told me pay into me late. Buying home warned mother will be angry. Wait until you're after get home. She say. Note that the period goes inside both the single and double question mark. Also note that as a courtesy, there is visible space between adjunct, a single, and double question mark. While American still has period and commas going inside single and double quotation marks follow logic. Quotation mark in a quotation within a quotation can get tricky. Example, why do you keep saying this doesn't make sense?
That's correct. Now, not only notice that we can have quotation marks inside quotation marks, but the number of quotes or the little marks, they change in number. Instead of using 2, when you start with your quotes, you use 1. Okay? So you can quote and use another quote inside. That's the beauty of it. But you have to be careful. Some software nowadays, for example, in universities in the States, whenever you submit an essay or a research paper, you need to have all of your references and sources well identified. If by any chance you don't use proper grammar, or you don't paraphrase, or you don't quote, a software will tell us that you are plagiarizing. You're using information, you're robbing, stealing information from a source. It'll tell you right away. The algorithm is designed for that. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not taking that information as your own, but maybe we don't know how to use this rule as well as we know now. So before we continue, are there any questions in regards to rule number 7? And just remember, in the first example, we're using column, Dan said, and then we open our quotation, comma, I saw tourists go home written on a wall. But then, and then we use a period, and then we continue, but then someone told me, comma, pay it no mind, lad. But all of that is a quote, guys. Interesting, right? So if there's no questions, let's continue. Okay, rule 8A. Camila?
Quotation marks are often used with technical terms, terms used in an unusual way, or other expressions that vary from standard usage. Examples: it's an oil extractor method known as quotation marks fracking. He did some quotation mark experimenting in his college days. I have visited from my quotation mark friend quotation mark the taxman.
Yes, but remember, you are quoting because you're using this term from another source. Even though it looks very easy to identify. For example, friend. Yes, you can use friend in any statement, but whenever you're quoting friend, that means that friend means something in another work. So that means you need to pay close attention to it because you're making a reference for something bigger, for something that has a special meaning. Thank you, Camila. Rule 8B. Mauricio?
AB. Never use single quotation marks in sentences like the previous 3. Incorrect. I have a visit from my simple quotation mark friend, simple quotation mark the taxman. The single quotation marks in the above sentence are intended to send a message to the reader that friend is being used in a special way, in this case, sarcastically. Avoid this invalid usage. Single quotation marks are valid only within a quotation, as per Rule 7 above.
Okay, so is what we just discussed, right? Be careful whenever you use the single quotation marks. When you use the double one, the original ones, it's just so that we can identify what's going on. Okay. Thank you, Mao. And rule 9. Let me see, Rodrigo.
When quoted material runs more than one paragraph, start each new paragraph with opening quotation marks, but do not use closing quotation marks until the end of the passage. Francis wrote, I don't paint anymore. For a while, I thought it was just a phase that I'd get over. Now I don't even try. Note, for extended quotation, see rule 8 of columns for an option that doesn't not use quotation marks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rodrigo. So any questions about this one, guys? No? I know it looks tricky, but we need to follow the punctuation rules. Any questions before we continue for this one? And also, it's telling us here a note. For extended quotations, see rules 8 of columns. For an option that does not use quotation marks. Okay, so we can look for another option. Or you can always paraphrase. There's many different tools that we can use. Okay. And that's it from quotation marks. Okay, so let's do something different, guys. Let's do a quiz in regards to quotation marks. But we're gonna do something different from yesterday's call. Instead of me going through each one, you're going to answer, and then we're going to review. And you're going to give me the answer, right? We're gonna do this all together. But in the end, I'm gonna ask you, okay, where is our quotation marks? Where do they go? Okay, so let's see. Let's start with these 5. So half a minute for each one, or maybe less. Let's take 3 minutes to complete these. If we need more time, it's okay. But please work these in your own, write down your answers, and after you complete, let me know, and then we'll review, okay? Any questions? Any questions, guys? Read the instructions, okay? Any questions, guys? No? Maybe? Anyone? It's clear?
Teacher,
Yes.
hacemos en un Word.
No, but you can just write them down in your notebook,
Ah, yeah.
okay? Just identify your answer, your quotation marks. Let me read the instructions. Rewrite each sentence, adding quotation marks. Remember, sometimes you will need to change lowercase letters to capital letters when you introduce direct quotations. Okay, so let's see if we remember what we just practiced. Okay, guys? So I'll give you 3 minutes and then we review. You need more time, guys?
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
I finished, teacher.
Okay, Audrey, what about everyone else?
I also finished.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna assume we can review. Let's do number one. Let me see. Rodrigo, number one. Please read the statement and let us know where the quotation marks go.
You will learn about the term symbolism when you do a novel study. The quotation mark is since the term symbolism. That's
Symbolism is in quotations.
no. Since the
Oh, since here.
yes.
Okay, like this. Okay,
Mhm.
let me see. Let me check with the class. You guys agree?
No, I do not agree.
Yes, teacher.
What is the correct answer?
I think that only the word symbolism is need to be on quotation marks, between
That's
quotation
correct.
marks.
Yes, Rodrigo, only symbolism is in quotation marks, okay?
Teacher,
Yes,
also we need change with capital letter.
in this case, no,
No? Okay.
no, okay? Let's do number two. Camila, number two.
I think that the quotation marks should be in "I really trying hard in a school this semester."
Right
And
here.
after the comma. The comma is inside the quotation mark.
Oh, so right here. Something
Yes.
like this. Okay, awesome. Three, Audrey.
No, the taxi driver said, currently, quotation mark, I cannot get you the airport in 10 minutes, quotation mark.
Okay, so we have a quotation mark here, right? That's it? We don't have more quotation marks? What about
Currently?
in the beginning? No.
No, yes, no, yes.
Okay. because he's saying it here. The taxi driver said curtly. Okay, tricky, 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 all right? 4, writer.
Miss, Mr. and Mrs. Brownlee stated we refuse to use the elevator because of mechanical problems. Quotation marks are inside of mechanical problems.
Okay. And that's it. Only mechanical problems.
Yes, teacher. I think.
Okay. Anyone else has a different answer?
We refuse to use elevator.
Okay. So here, it starts here, right? Okay. This is my quote, all of this. Now, Audrey, going back to your original question just a few seconds ago, what happens to this W?
Capital L.
Yeah, sorry about my W, okay? I'm not that good with the mouse and drawing. Okay. Yes. All right. 5. Okay. Number 5. Joe. Joanne.
Uh, he likes to talk about monkey.
Hockey.
Okay, hockey. um, okay. Quotation mark. He said quotation mark, especially when the Stanley Cup playoffs are on TV.
Okay. So where do the quotation marks go? In the beginning, like you said, right? He likes to talk about hockey. Right here. Boom. She said. And that's it?
Mm,
Or we continue quoting?
Yes, Joe. Okay, quotation mark when the silent. Okay.
Stanley
No.
Cup. Stanley, especially when the Stanley Cup playoffs are on TV. So we continue with our quote. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, we do not use capital letters because we are only separating my statements. Okay. Remember, as we discussed yesterday, we can go back and check the rules and see what rule applies in this case. Maybe more than one rule applies. Let's practice a little bit more, guys. Let's do 5 more. Okay. So again, 3 minutes. Try your best, okay? If you finish before, let me know.
I finished, teacher.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, teacher, I am finished.
Okay. Okay, guys, let's review. Let's go over 6. Camila?
I think that the quotation marks go in Balpinder.
Okay. Be careful. Can you believe Balbiner asked me? So this expression goes in quotations. Okay. And then we continue. That we still have 85 days of school to attend. And then we continue with our quote. We don't change anything here. We're using that to do a transition. Let's try 7. Writer?
The Raven is, I believe, one of Edgar Allan Poe's best poems. Quotation marks are in the Raven.
Yes, because it's a title. Right? And that's it, right? Thank you, writer. What about 8? Mauricio?
I don't know, she said. What do you think? Quotation in I don't know until the comma, and another quotation. What do you think?
Here, right? Good.
Yes.
Awesome. Good job, sir. 9, Rodrigo?
When did Winston Churchill say, quotation mark, difficulties master are opportunities won, quotation mark.
Okay, but check it out. When did Winston Churchill say difficulties mastered are opportunities won? So, yes, we start our quotation here, but a lot of things happen here. What happens to this? It becomes capital letter. And is this question mark part of the quote? Not really, right? So this one goes here, inside. Number 9 was a little bit tricky. What about 10? Audrey?
My friend teacher exclaimed, quotation mark, your accent sounds authentic. Quotation mark.
Your accent sounds authentic. Okay.
Authentic.
And where is my quote? Audrey?
Teacher, where is my
Right here?
quotation mark?
Your accent sounds authentic. Okay. And it finishes here. But what happens to this? Why?
A is capital letter.
Okay. Ah, sorry guys, too big. But anyways, you get the point. Any questions, reflections, concerns, doubts, complaints about this exercise? It's a good exercise, guys. Come on. It's a good practice. But we can understand how complex the use of quotation marks is. And complex, I don't mean it that is actually difficult. No. It's just that we use quotation marks in different scenarios, not just one. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's go back into, again, my presentation. Give me just a second. And let me see. Okay, we are in the last section. So okay. Hyphens. Now, we might get confused between hyphens and dashes, but they are completely different situations. I'm gonna read a little bit. Hyphens. There are two things to keep in mind about these misunderstood punctuation mark. First, there should not be spaces around hyphens. Second, hyphens should not be used interchangeably with dashes, except with the rule 6, which we're going to discuss, because dashes are longer. And you notice that in your keyboard, from your laptop, computer, whatever, yes, we have different lengths between the hyphens and dashes. Hyphens' main purpose is to glue words together. They notify the reader that two or more elements in a sentence are linked. Although there are rules and customs governing hyphens, there are also situations when the writers must decide whether to add them for clarity. Dashes. Dashes can be a complex topic with many subtle uses. The various types include the N dash, the M dash, 2M dash, the 3M dash. We will limit our discussion to the most common uses of an N and M dashes, as sorry, they will fulfill the bulk of the needs of most writers. Okay, so we have M dashes and N dashes. So what's going on here? We're going to focus in the M dashes, like commas, semicolons, columns, ellipses, and parentheses indicate added emphasis, an interruption, or an abrupt change of thought. Okay, so we can indicate an expression pretty much, but abrupt, that means all of a sudden. Experienced writers know that these marks are not interchangeable. Note how dashes subtly change the tone of the following sentences. And we have some examples here. You are the friend, the only friend, who offered to help me. You are the friend, the only friend, who offered to help me. I pay the bills, she has all the fun. I pay the bills, she has all the fun. I wish you would, or never mind. I wish you would, oh, never mind. Sounds very similar, but in the end, you're changing the emphasis. So, okay, teacher, what's going on here? Don't worry, we're gonna get in details. So I'm telling you, this is not just a mark that is just there for no reason. Yes, it is very, very complex. So let's get to it. Hyphens. Again, this is the same explanation. We don't need to go over it. Hyphens between words. Rule number 1. Let me see. Camila, let's go over rule 1A.
Generally, hyphenate 2 or more words. When they come before a noun, they modify and act as a single idea. This is called a compound adjective. Examples: an off-campus apartment, a state-of-the-art design. When a compound adjective follows a noun, a hyphen is usually not necessary. Example: the apartment is off campus. However, some established compound adjectives are always hyphenate. Double check with a dictionary or online. Example: the design is state of the art.
Hello, I'm back. So let's see, where did we leave off? So let's see, I'm sorry, I did not hear the explanation, Camila.
I repeat the rule, teacher.
Please.
Okay. Rule 1A. Generally, hyphenate two or more words when they come before a noun. They modify and act as a single idea. This is called a compound adjective. Examples: an off-campus apartment, state-of-the-art design. When a compound adjective follows a noun, a hyphen is usually not necessary. For example, the apartment is off campus. However, some established compound adjectives are always hyphenate. Double check with a dictionary or online. Example: the design is state-of-the-art.
Okay. So in the end, what we're trying to say is that we want to make the statement sound as a just single idea, right? Nothing more. We're just putting it together. And we want to make sure that it keeps together. It's not just words. It's a single idea. That's what it's telling us. Thank you, Camila. Sorry about the repeat. 1B. Let me see, Mauricio.
1B. Use suspended hyphens when two or more compound adjectives come before the noun they modify. Example: we offer the finest protective equipment, including latex,
Latex.
and phthalate-free gloves. Incorrect. You can expect a 3-4 week delay in processing. Correct. You can expect a 3 to 4 week delay in processing.
Yes. So in this case, what it's telling us, not to confuse what preposition or transition word to use. When you see the preposition to separate. You can expect a 3 to 4 week delay in processing. In the end, we're talking about week. And we don't know. It's like saying so or more or less, but in this case, you're being precise per se. Not that precise, but you're giving a parameter of time. This is equivalent to writing you can expect a 3-week to 4-week delay in processing. Okay, and it doesn't matter. You can have 3-week hyphen, 3-week, 4-week. Tomato, tomato. You can use the words whichever you want. In this case, this is the example they're giving us just to differentiate, because we don't create like a line here. That's what it's doing here is incorrect. Let's continue. 2A, Audrey.
2A. Hyphen is frequently required when forming original compound verbs for vivid writing, humor, or special situation. Examples: the Shackler video game His Way Through Life, Queen Victoria Throne sat for 6 decades.
Okay. So you're forming original compound verbs for vivid writing, humor, or special situations. So the first example, the slacker, video gamed. And be careful, you're not talking about video game. Video gamed, a video that was gamed. His way through life. But in the end, whenever you're combining this, what's happening? Okay. So let's hope I don't lose any power anymore. Well, let's go back into rule number 2 really fast. So whenever I use the hyphen to join, in this case, video gamed, that means he played, but we're just making a more vivid emphasis. We're making it special. We're writing something that just gives more detail about this specific noun, which is a slacker. Queen Victoria throne sat for 6 decades. It's like saying she was a queen or she was in power. Throne sat. Okay. And let me go over rule 2b. When writing out new, original, or unusual compound nouns, writers should hyphenate whenever doing so avoids confusion. Examples: I changed my diet and became a non-meter or no meter. No meter is too confusing without the hyphen. Yes, no meter. So we're just making it like it says here, original. You are joining those two words to make a noun, actually. And that's why it's called a compound noun. The slacker was a video gamer. Video gamer is clear without a hyphen, although some writers might prefer to hyphenate it. Writers using familiar compound verbs and nouns should consult a dictionary and look online to decide if these verbs or nouns should be hyphenated. So yes, whenever you have any questions, please do some research. Maybe we're not sure about if we can use our hyphens. Okay, let's go over rule 3. Let me see. Rodrigo, can you help me with rule 3? Hello? Rodrigo, can you hear me? Or Mauricio, can you help me with rule 3?
Rule 3. An often overlooked rule for hyphens: the adverb very and adverbs ending in li are not hyphenated. Incorrect. And the very elegant watch. Incorrect. The finely tuned watch.
Tuned. Okay.
Tuned watch. This rule applies only to adverbs. The following 2 examples are correct because the li words are not adverbs. Correct. The friendly looking dog. Correct. A family owned cafe.
Okay, yes. So what rule 3 is telling us, do not get confused, okay? In the beginning, for the incorrect ones, we're talking about adverbs. And the second one, we're just talking about what? What is it called? Okay, we have just a regular noun and friendly. Is it friendly an adverb? Anybody knows? Well, the rule's telling us that they're not. Okay, so check it out. So friendly is not an adverb. Wow. Remember that we learned from our past exercises in Pearson that ly words usually are adverbs. In this case, friendly is not. Let's continue. Oh, that's it. Okay. So let me see. Let's quiz what we learned today. Okay. So before we go, let's quiz what we have done so far. But let's do this together, okay? Quiz yourself, hyphen, circle the option that correctly punctuates the sentence provided. Let's do this individually, okay? Number one, who wants to try the first example? Any volunteers? Any volunteers?
I can do it, teacher.
Okay, Camila?
He accidentally drove down a one-way street. I think that the correct option is A. He accidentally drove down a one-way street.
So the option A, you're saying, right?
Yes.
That's correct. Good job. Number two, anyone? Rodrigo, are you back?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, let's do number two.
The folk festival didn't start until mid-January, so Jeremy had time to practice his guitar. I think is option A.
Option A?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. There's no need to have a hyphenated. However, mid-January, yes. So in the end, the correct answer is B. No problem, guys. Come on. This is a practice. 3. Mauricio?
The trip to Mexico was an all-inclusive special, so David and John didn't have to pay extra for airfare.
So what is the correct answer?
I think it's C.
C?
Yes, C.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. No. That is incorrect. Now, airfare is just a word. It's a noun. Airfare. We don't need to hyphenate it because we know it's a noun we should be familiar with. So the correct answer should be B. All inclusive. So we are adding more emphasis to this. Okay. We're creating a vivid expression. 4, writer.
Okay, teacher. The uniform, the museum was told to be from the pre-Civil War era.
Okay. So the Civil War era. So what is the correct answer? A or B?
A, teacher.
Yes, that's correct. We only need to hyphenate these two words, and this one is incorrect. 5. Audrey?
Margaret Atwood is a well-known author in Canada and elsewhere in the world. I think it's B.
Okay. So Margaret Atwood is a well-known author in Canada and elsewhere in the world. So you say it's B.
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Is A?
Yes, that's correct. This one needs to be hyphenated. Okay, but let's continue. There's more practice. 6. Joe? Also, guys, I know I'm not asking you directly, but everyone should be trying these exercises, okay? You should be trying and check your answers and see if you are getting them right, okay? You should be participating. Joe, 6.
Her sister-in-law is the manager at the restaurant where I work. The answer is B.
Uh-oh. Be careful. It's A. Sister-in-law. Hermana por ley, o en ley, o en la ley. So this has to be, these 3 words, they need to be hyphenated. Okay. 7. Camila.
Rock music has been popular from the mid-60s right up to the present. I think that is B.
Okay. So
But
why?
I'm not sure about up to the present. I think that is not correct to have
Yes.
hyphens. So I think that is the A.
Yes, this is just confusion, right? This is the one only. So yes, you're right. Good job. 8. 8. Rodrigo?
My grandfather turned 89 in June. I think it's A.
A?
Yes.
That's correct. There's no need for confusion, guys. We know grandfather is a single word. We connect grand and father, A becomes a noun. Okay? It's a compound noun. We don't need to hyphenate. 9. Rodrigo?
Me again, teacher?
I'm sorry, Mauricio. Sorry, Rodrigo.
Leticia's ancestry was African American. B.
B. Okay. Yes. Good job, sir. 10. Audrey.
Lee Ting was trying to find full-time work during her summer holidays. Is A.
Yes, because full-time work, nah, it doesn't work that way, okay? This is incorrect. Only full-time and leading. Okay, good job. Any questions about this quiz, guys? Any questions? No? Hello?
No, teacher.
No? Okay, so time's up, guys. I'm sorry about the blackouts that we had. I wanted to start conjunctions, but I guess there's no time, and I know you have other activities, so we must stop here. Now, tomorrow, we are going to solely go over an article, okay? And that'll be it. But we're going to practice what we have learned. Now, again, before we go, we did 2 quizzes today, and I will give them to you. I will send them to you through WhatsApp. So don't forget to link. Please link and search and link what rule applies for each example. Okay, so that way we practice what we are learning. Okay, this is another example, and this is the rule that is applied to it. Okay. Now, for the quizzes that I gave you for commas, columns, and semicolons, yes, submit that to me on Saturday, please, end of the day. For quizzes, hyphens, and quotes, don't worry about it. For that, we are going to consider today's quizzes as the activities pertaining to today's lesson. Okay. So we're going to stop here. And before we go, please help me with the survey. You should be able to see the survey. Thank you so much for coming to class. Hope to see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, teacher. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye, Audrey.
See you, teacher.
My teacher.
Bye.
See
Bye,
you
guys.
tomorrow, teacher. Thank you.
Bye, guys.